example 4 wants us to figure out by looking at the formulas whether these two graphs are inverse of each other. So the most simple way I can go forward is by examining the equation that's the easiest to look at. This one. This one's pretty simple. That one, a little more complicated. Not too much, but I'm going to go with the simplest one. And then I'm going to switch my x and y. So an inverse function is one where the x and the y get changed places. So I'm going to do that. X equals 7y minus 3. And then I want to see if I isolate for y, is it going to look like that? So my negative 3 or minus 3 is by itself. I can move it over as a plus 3. So I've got x plus 3 equals 7y. Because this is being multiplied, I want to divide by it on this side, get rid of that. And yes, x plus 3 over 7 equals y is the same as the other equations. So we would say that they are inverse. Now, we could check that using a graph as well. This is a simple y equals mx plus b format. So it starts at negative 3. I can put my dot at negative 3 on the y-axis, and it goes up by 7. So I can count up to 4 and over 1, and there I've got my line. So I can just use a quick ruler here to get my line going where it needs to be. That one's a little more tricky, but I've got this point here at 4 and 1. So if it was inverse, then I should have a point at 1 and 4. Or sorry, that's 1 and 4. I need 4 and 1. So 1 and 4 should be on my next graph. I could plug it in and see if it works. So I have a point on this graph that is 1 and 4, which means that I should have a point on this graph that is 4 and 1. So I plug in 1 equals 4 plus 3 over 7. 7 over 7 equals 1. So that worked pretty well. It doesn't necessarily prove to me that the graphs are inverse just because one point worked. So I'm going to try another point. This point down here is 0 and 3. So that means I should have a point on this graph, or sorry, this is 0 and negative 3. So I should have a point on this graph that is negative 3 and 0. So again, I'm going to try my luck at putting in negative 3 and 0. So 0 equals negative 3 plus 3 over 7. 0 over 7, yay, it does! So I can just take a couple of the relevant points off of the first graph, plug them into my other equation, and see if it works out. Now if I draw my line here, it should visually look like there is symmetry over that y equals x line. And there is.